I'm 76 years old, and I lost my best friend after 52 years because I wouldn't apologize. I've had bigger losses on paper, I suppose. People die, marriages end, jobs disappear. But this one sits in me differently because it didn't happen to me. I did it. I don't say that for sympathy. I'm too old for that kind of performance. I'm saying it because time has a way of peeling the excuses off you. You can stay busy for decades. You can tell the same story until you believe it. But when the house gets quiet and the days get shorter, the truth starts showing up anyway. His name was Daniel, though almost everyone called him Danny. I still have his number saved in my phone. I don't know why I keep it. The screen doesn't light up with his name anymore. It never will. But deleting it feels like agreeing to something I'm not ready to agree to. In the afternoons, I sit in my living room with the curtains half open. The light comes in soft and pale. There's an old armchair that fits me like it was shaped by the years. Behind me, there's a bookshelf with paperbacks and a couple of framed photos that my daughter insists I keep out. There's a plant by the window that I managed not to kill. On the mantle, there's a photo of me and Danny from a fishing trip years ago. Two men squinting in the sun, arms around each other, smiling like we didn't know what was coming. I keep it turned slightly so it isn't the first thing people see. Not because I'm ashamed of him, because I'm ashamed of me. I used to think an apology was something you offered when you did something really wrong. A broken window, a harsh word, a betrayal. I didn't understand that refusing to apologize is its own kind of betrayal. It's not loud. It doesn't leave bruises. But it leaves a person alone with the message that your pride matters more than they do. I met Danny when I was 24. I was working in a hardware store then, trying to build a life that looked solid from the outside. I had a cheap apartment with thin walls and a car that needed coaxing in the winter. I was serious, the kind of young man who thought seriousness was the same thing as strength. Danny walked into the store with a broken lawnmower part in his hand and a grin on his face like it was all no big deal. He didn't know the name for what he needed. He described it with his hands, making shapes in the air, telling the story of how it snapped and how he tried to fix it with tape first, like that wasn't embarrassing, just normal. I helped him find the part. He cracked jokes. I tried not to laugh too much, like I was protecting my image. He invited me for a beer afterward, right there, like we were already friends. We stood behind the store after closing, leaning against the brick wall, drinking from brown bottles, talking about nothing and everything. The night air smelled like warm asphalt and cut grass. He told me about his mother, how she worried too much. I told him about my father, how he expected too much. We weren't deep men, not in the way people talk about depth, but we were honest in a practical way. We said what happened, we said what we did, we said what we were trying to become. After that, he was just in my life. Saturday mornings, fishing trips, helping each other move, sitting in each other's kitchens while our wives cooked and our kids ran around our ankles. He was the person I called when my car wouldn't start, and I was the person he called when he needed help fixing a fence. We didn't keep score, we just showed up. When my first child was born, he was the first person outside family to come by. He didn't bring anything fancy. He brought groceries and a small stuffed bear and acted like it was the most normal thing in the world to walk into a new father's house and start putting food away. When his mother died, I drove him to the funeral because he said he couldn't trust himself behind the wheel. He stared out the window the whole time, jaw tight, like holding it in was the only way he knew how to survive it. I didn't have the right words, so I didn't try. I just drove. I thought being there was enough, and for a long time, it was. Decades went by the way decades do, quietly, with routines, work and mortgages and repairs and school events and health scares that turned out to be nothing until they weren't. Danny worked for the city, the kind of job where you fix what breaks, and if you do it right, nobody notices you were there. He liked being needed. He liked being useful. He had a laugh that came easy, even when life didn't. In our 30s, we saw each other constantly. In our 40s, we still did, but it started needing planning. In our 50s, it became shorter visits, a quick coffee, a phone call while one of us was driving. In our 60s, it was a diner every couple of weeks. The same booth, the same waitress who called us hon, the same complaints about aching backs and rising prices. Danny called me on Sunday afternoons, often without a reason. He'd say he was driving and thought of something from years ago. He'd laugh before he even got to the punchline. I used to love those calls. Then I started not answering sometimes, not because I didn't care, because I was tired, because I was busy, because I told myself there would be time. I'd see his name and think I'll call him back after dinner, after I finish this, after the news. I didn't notice how after started becoming a habit. Danny retired before I did. He had more time on his hands and less structure. He tried to fill it with projects, woodworking, fixing things for neighbors, making shelves and cutting boards and giving them away like he didn't want the house to be too quiet. I kept working part-time even when I didn't have to. I told myself it kept me sharp. It kept me useful. It kept me from feeling old. Danny teased me for it. He'd say gently that I didn't know how to sit still. He wasn't wrong. Sitting still meant you had to feel things, and I wasn't good at that. So when the argument happened, it didn't feel like an argument about time. It felt like an argument about who I was allowed to be. We had planned to meet at the diner on a Tuesday. I got there 15 minutes late. Not an hour. Not something dramatic. 15 minutes, the kind of thing I used to shrug off. Danny was already seated. He wasn't eating. He was looking at the menu like he wasn't really reading it. When I slid into the booth, he didn't smile right away. He said, low and tight, that I was always late lately, that he felt like I didn't respect his time. If he had said it with a laugh, I would have laughed too. But he didn't. He looked at me like he was asking me to take him seriously. Something in me reacted like I'd been accused, like I'd been caught failing, and I got defensive. I said I had responsibilities. I said I wasn't retired with nothing to do. I said the world didn't revolve around his schedule. I can hear my voice in my head even now. Not loud, just sharp, like a blade you didn't mean to pull out. Danny's face changed. The hurt crossed it quickly, like a cloud passing over the sun. He didn't shout. He didn't storm out. He just went quiet and said, "That's not what I meant." But I was already committed to being right. We ate our food and talked about surface things, work, weather, some local news story. But the booth felt different, like the air had gone cold between us. When we left, he didn't slap me on the back. He just nodded and walked to his truck. That night, he called me. I didn't answer. I saw his name and thought, I'm not doing this. He started it. He made me feel small. He embarrassed me. Those thoughts sound childish, I know. But that's how pride works. It makes you feel justified and wounded at the same time, like you're both the victim and the judge. The next day he texted, we should clear the air. I read it. I didn't respond. My wife asked what was wrong. I told her Danny was being sensitive. I told her he was picking a fight. I told her he needed to cool off. She said, maybe you should just call him. I said, he owes me an apology too. I repeated that sentence for weeks, like it was a rule of nature, like it was fair, like it mattered more than the years we'd already lived. Danny reached out a few more times, a call, a short message, a how are you? He wasn't begging. He wasn't keeping a list. He was trying to step back onto familiar ground, and each time I waited for the exact words I wanted. I wanted him to admit he was wrong in a way that would let me keep my pride intact. He never gave me that because he probably didn't think he had to. He thought we were bigger than that. We were. But my pride was bigger than my love for him, and that's a hard sentence to live with. A few months later, I saw him at the grocery store. He was in the produce aisle, turning oranges in his hands like he was choosing carefully. He looked thinner. Not sick exactly, just worn down. He looked up and saw me. We held each other's eyes for a second. In that second, everything could have been fixed with a simple nod and a step forward. He gave me a small nod, polite, distant, like you would nod at someone you used to know. I nodded back. Then he went back to the oranges. I went home and told my wife I'd seen him. She asked what happened. I said, nothing. I said it like it was over. But it wasn't over. It was just settling into place. Then came the phone call that changed the shape of it for good. It was from Danny's sister. I hadn't spoken to her in years. Her voice sounded tired. She told me Danny had been in the hospital for a week. She said it was his heart. She said he didn't want a crowd, but he had mentioned my name. Not with anger, not with warmth, like something unfinished. I remember standing in my kitchen with the phone pressed to my ear, staring at the wall. The house sounded loud in a strange way. The refrigerator hummed, the clock ticking, my own breathing. I said I'd go. I drove to the hospital the next morning. The parking lot smelled like cold air and exhaust. Inside, everything was quiet and bright, that hospital quiet that makes you speak softer without thinking. When I got to his room, he was lying in the bed with wires attached, his skin a little gray. He looked smaller than I'd ever seen him, like the world had finally taken its due. He opened his eyes and looked at me. I expected anger. I expected some kind of speech. He just looked tired. I said his name. I told him I was there. He nodded once. I wanted to say I was sorry. I wanted to get it out right then. But the words caught in my throat because even then, a part of me was still waiting for him to meet me halfway. Even then, I was still trying to protect something that didn't deserve protection. He turned his face slightly toward the window. His eyes were wet, not with big tears, just a shine. His voice was weak. He said he didn't understand why I couldn't just talk to him, and I said in that hospital room like an idiot that I felt disrespected. I wish I could go back and slap my own mouth shut. I wish I could tell you I did the right thing at the last moment. I didn't. Danny closed his eyes, then he opened them again and looked at me like he was deciding whether I was worth the energy. He said very quietly, "All this time for that." That's the last clear sentence I remember him saying to me. I stayed a little while. I told him to rest. I told him I'd come back. 2 days later, his sister called and told me he was gone. Complications. It happened quickly. The world didn't stop. It just got quieter. I drove to his house out of some instinct. Family was there, moving around in that stunned way people move after a death, doing tasks because the mind can't handle feelings yet. On his mantle was that fishing photo of us, the same one I have, facing outward, like I still belonged in his life. Seeing it there broke something in me, because it meant he hadn't erased me. He hadn't thrown me away. He had been waiting for me to come back with something simple and human, and I kept him waiting until he died. That's what can't be fixed. I can't call him. I can't sit in our booth again. I can't go back to that Tuesday and say, "You're right, I'm sorry, I've been distracted, I miss you." I can't change the last version of me that he carried with him. The last version of me he knew was a man who chose being right over being close. At the funeral, I stood in the back. I didn't feel like I belonged up front with the people who had been there for him without conditions. People said he was generous, funny, loyal. They said he showed up. I kept thinking, he showed up for me too. I just wouldn't let him. Now I'm here in my 70s, and my world is smaller. Friends aren't easy to replace at this age. A friend of 52 years isn't just someone to talk to. He's a witness to your whole life. He remembers your old faces. He remembers your parents' names. He knows your history without you having to explain it. Losing that feels like losing part of your own memory. If you're listening to this, I won't pretend I know your situation. I don't know who hurt you or who you've hurt. I don't know what you're waiting for or what words you think you need to hear before you soften. I only know what it's like to let pride outlive the person you needed to apologize to. It's a heavy thing to carry for the rest of your years. If this meant something to you and you're willing, you can share your thoughts somewhere, not for me, just because some stories are easier to hold when you don't hold them alone. As for me, I keep living. I sit in the afternoon light. I water the plant. I look at the photo when I can bear it. And sometimes, when the house is quiet, I say his name out loud just to hear it in the room once more. There's no answer, just the soft sound of my own voice fading, and the knowledge that the words I refused to say when it mattered are the ones I end up saying to empty air.